I don't remember what this is. I call it Pears in a Parcel, and it's basically a pear that is wrapped in a pastry dough and filled with like brown sugar and pecans, and it's just really a beautiful fall dessert. I have talked about how to make flaky pie dough in the past, so I'm not going to go over all those details right now, but I will just remind you that you always want to have very cold butter. And if things start to soften while you're mixing your dough, you want to pop it back in the fridge to let it chill. You really do not want your butter to soften. You want it to stay in these kind of discrete chunks that you can see when you're rolling out your dough. Another technique that I've been using a lot lately, this is already a pretty flaky dough, but I've really been liking the effect of folding the dough. It kind of increases that layer, it creates sort of a rough puff pastry. What I'm trying to do is get it rolled out thin enough and divide it in half. And while we're working with one, I think I'm going to go ahead and put the other one in the fridge so that it doesn't get warm. Thank you very much. So you want it pretty thin, like about 1/8 of an inch, I would say. You're going to end up kind of trimming some of it off. A triangle is going to work just fine. Okay, so now that I have this rolled out, I'm actually going to put it back in the fridge while I prepare the pears. So we're going to start with one of these Bosch pears, and the first step is to peel it. Now you want to use a Bosch pear, mostly because of their shape, and they're usually pretty firm even when they're ripe. Slice the bottom just a little bit so that it'll sit flat. And then this is the kind of tricky part where we're going to try to core the pear but not go all the way through. So I'm using apple core and a melon baller. You can improvise with whatever you've got around. A small teaspoon would also work. All right, and now we're ready to make our filling. Filling could not be simpler. Okay, you take some chopped nuts. I'm using pecans because those are my favorite. Walnuts would also be great. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, tablespoon of flour, and just combine in the smallest bowl possible so that it's really hard to mix. So now we're gonna fill the pears with the filling. You could also add spices to this. Cinnamon. I think ginger is really nice with pears. It's a good combination, so you could do that. And now these are ready to get wrapped in our pastry and baked. And this is just kind of however you can manage to do it is the way to do it. So you're going to have a little bit of overlap. You're going to have some pieces that maybe need to be cut off because you don't want it too thick in any one place. But I do think it's nice to try to follow the contour of the pear. And then you just press it on there so that it holds. And then another nice touch is one of your pastry scraps. You just want to cut a little pear leaf. With the back of your knife, just kind of score, like little leaf veins. Set that aside. You want to put that back in the fridge, and then we can work on our second one. And then we're just going to brush with some milk or half and half or cream, whatever you happen to have around. And this helps with browning, but it also allows you to sprinkle on some sugar to get a really nice kind of sweet crunch on the outside. And then just carefully transfer it. And then we'll do the other one and get them in the oven. I'm gonna cover these stems with a little bit of foil so that they don't burn. Now we are ready to put them in the oven, and you want them at a 400-degree oven to start with, and then we'll turn it down. So another thing that makes these pastry wrapped pears special is that they have a sauce, and it's a honey lemon chamomile sauce. So you want to start with a little bit of strong chamomile tea. I boiled a cup and a half of water, put 2 tea bags in there, and let it steep for 7 minutes. And then we're going to add lemon juice, red wine, 3 tablespoons of honey. This is pretty much, minus the wine, what I like to drink if I'm sick.
Sure.
Lemon and honey and chamomile, and then a little bit of brown sugar. And then the last ingredient for the sauce is a little bit of lemon zest. And then we'll just put this on the stove and simmer it until it's about 60% reduced. Basically, you're just gonna wanna see it starting to thicken a little bit so that it pours like a sauce instead of just liquid. Smells wonderful. And it has cooled slightly. You don't want to eat this directly out of the oven, but it's nice if it's a little bit warm. And you can see, it's a little rough around the edges in places, and I think that's fine. It's a rustic look, but you're still getting that kind of shape of the pear and the nice detailing of the leaf. If it slides down, if some of the pastry slides down a little bit, that is because it wasn't cold when you put it into the oven. You want cold pastry into a very hot oven for the best results and the least amount of movement. Okay, so one question is, how do you eat it? I just like to cut it down the center, and it'll be a little messy and crumbly. Some of the pastry is gonna fall off. That's okay. Oh, it's so flaky. It's really nice. And then you can see that interior, the nuts and the brown sugar. And then you can pour some of this sauce over. Oh, that chamomile sauce is surprising. It really adds kind of a sophistication and a complexity to what's basically a piece of pear pie. The brown sugar pecan mixture is delicious. It really adds so much to this. I love this. It's a bit of a mess to eat, but I don't think you'll mind. It's kind of part craft project, part cooking project, but I really think the results are worth it. It's really delicious. It's a beautiful thing to bring to the table. I hope you'll give it a try. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and you can find our weekly podcast at eartheats.org, and we also have tons of other recipes there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.